Everybody, and welcome to Salt. I am monitoring the feed today because Aspen is not here, which is why I have the iPad on my lap, and I will be looking down occasionally, trying to control the every streams and switches and all that kind of fun stuff. It just feels weird. Aspen's usually here to do it, but she's off taking pictures with her friends, so we are left without our usual manager. She's actually been doing it since she was. Wow. How young?
Well, 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago.
More than that, because we did it for, a year or so in Lincoln before we came here. We've been here 5 years, so 5, 6, 7 years ago she started.
We started it the April that COVID started.
Yeah.
Wasn't that 2020?
I don't know.
Yeah. So it's been 5.5 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Seems longer.
Yeah.
We've been here for 5 years.
No, this is our fifth year.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, she's not here, and that's fine. She's off with her friends, which, at her age she should be, so I will be doing it. And so here we are, and we're going to start off with a sad tale. We had an event 2 weeks ago, and it was a very monumental moment in our family's time period. And I remember, Miranda and Aspen were both in class, and I was trying to call my mom to share the emotional moment I was having, and she didn't answer. And I finally got a hold of my brother, and we talked. But what we have is this is all we have left of the car that we have had for many years, and it is now gone. Very sad. These are the plates from our Subaru Outback, and it had just gotten so run down and so expensive to just keep up and repair. It wasn't worth keeping anymore. And it was going to be expensive to fix all the little different things. You know how it gets. You get a car and it gets so old, and it's just one little thing after the next, and it's too expensive really to upkeep. But it's drivable, so you keep driving it. And we're letting Aspen drive it because it seemed to be going fine. And all the stuff was sort of wrong with it wasn't like catastrophic. It was just like, well, someday you ought to get this fixed. Like the windows didn't roll down on the driver's side, and that was a pain. But nothing catastrophic, and a couple of things. But then, while she was out driving it once, the brakes ran out, and so she called us, and at that point, now when I went and got it. I was able to drive it home because the brakes did work, so it wasn't intermittent. It wasn't like they were gone. Whatever it was intermittent. So, but that is a symptom of something more serious, and in like a master cylinder or something, it's going to need fixed. So we're just like,
It already needed a new transmission, and so
what's the point,
Yeah.
And actually, when we got our new car, it's not a new car, it's a used car, but we got our next car. And I was talking to the guys, like, I don't know, what do you think it's worth? And he's like, look, I'll be nice and give you $500 for it, but it's really not worth much. I'm like, yeah, I didn't think so. Anyway, just for fun, I thought I'd give you a brief history of the cars that have passed through me and, our family. Although I think was yours the RAV, the first car you had?
No, I drove any number of cars before that. I mean, Colby was 6 when I got that car. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah. Overall, they grew up in that car.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what it was with the Outback. Aspen sort of grew up in that car. And she was younger, when we were in Vegas. Anyway, here's the car. So, first of all, my very first car was that. A 1976 Toyota Celica GT liftback with the louvers on the back and black tinted windows. And, that was my car. And, I remember Dad had gotten, when we were in high school, he'd gotten these two cars, I think it was. This one and another Toyota that was an automatic. And my sister was driving the automatic. And my brother was supposed to be driving this one, but he never did. And one summer, I was at home alone, and that car was sitting there, and I didn't know how to drive a stick shift because that's a manual. And I was just stuck at home all day long with the driver's license, couldn't go anywhere because So one day I kept bugging my dad. I said, Dad, you teach me how to drive a stick. And he literally took me out for like 10 minutes. He said, get in the car. We got in the car and we drove around the little, subdivision we were in for maybe 10 minutes. And he said, that's how it works. And then he went and he left. And I was like, all right. And so I spent the rest of that day driving out in the, roads of Columbia, South Carolina, learning how to drive a stick shift.
Well, that's more than I got. Basically, I was told the concept of how it worked.
Yeah.
And then I just got in and...
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You got less than I got.
Yeah.
I thought I had the least amount of... And Miranda had less than me. And yet we both were able to master.
Yeah, and it wasn't particularly hard, I guess, but yeah. And we actually both prefer to drive.
Yeah, I wish we could
speed.
still get manuals because I love the manuals. And I was doing fine. The whole day I was doing fine. Just once I got stuck at a red light on a hill, and that was a challenge. And I was able to get through it without too many people being mad at me.
Yeah, I'm not saying I got in and drove perfectly, but nobody got in the car and drove with me.
But I will say, because I learned that way, I could teach anybody to drive a manual. Because the way I had to figure it out, and then how I figured it out, when I get anybody a manual, it's like, do this. And I will get you through a manual no time, easy, because I'm going to show you the secret to driving a manual. And it was fun. I taught several people how to drive a manual. But anyway, that was my first car, and I loved that car. It took me through last year of high school, the summer, and first few years of college, and I drove that all over the place. But the thing is, the high beam, low beam switch went out, and that immobilized the car, and we got rid of it because the electrical system was going out, and it was too expensive to fix. So instead, my father started out with this car. He got me this, which was a Subaru XT Coupe. And it was the road driver said, if you couldn't afford a Porsche, get this. And it looks like a wedge, and it is. It's a big wedge. And it was such a cool car. It had a game console for the dash. It had a joystick for the stick shift because it was a manual. And it was just, I loved, the way it looked. It was a unique car in that day, but it was a piece of junk. And it was really hard to keep running. They messed up, and they made the engine too strong for the drivetrain camshaft, and camshafts are breaking left and right. And you break camshafts in NASCAR. You don't really break camshafts driving down the road, in the streets. And so I don't think the XT was out but for a few years, and they quit making it. But this was the car that came with the dowry when I married Miranda. It was.
Is that the RAV?
That's
or
a RAV.
A RAV.
It's not our
Not
RAV, but it
mine.
looks just like yours.
Does it? Let me see.
See, it looks just like your RAV. It's close. And I was going through pictures, and I didn't have anything on my phone that had in fact, the Subaru I'm going to show is not our Subaru. But Miranda had this RAV, and oh my gosh, she just thought it was all that and everything, and it was great.
It was.
But
and his car was like, what, 10 years
I
newer
had a
than
car, and yet I had a new car, and she had this RAV. I think it was a 97.
Yeah.
97 RAV, and I had a 2000-something
2006.
Baja, and hers outran mine up and down.
It sure did. I mean, he bought his, and he did nothing but fix it while he was making payments on it.
Yes.
And then no sooner did he pay it off, then it broke down so big and so bad that we just had to trade it in.
Yeah.
And something else. My RAV, on the other hand,
ran
on a minimum of maintenance.
Yeah.
And if you've never heard the story, God actually fixed my car one time. And he got us tires for that car.
And fixed it. it was, I can't remember what was wrong with it, but then it just stopped.
It was, what, the Rav? Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd gone on a trip, and it was 5-speed, and Brett was driving it back. It was North Carolina back to Maryland. And so, if you drive the 5-speed, if you're in a high gear and you start slowing down, it'll start to miss. And at first I thought, oh, and he no doubt thought too, oh, well, he just hasn't geared down and he should have. Turns out that wasn't the case when we got back. He took it in. It was one of 3 things. And
the shadow you see right now is Hadassah crawling through our set.
None of them was that big. I shouldn't say none of them was that big a deal. Basically, it was either the spark plugs, some mid-range price, or something that was just going to be so expensive and devastating that was it. It was just going to, you drive it until it's done, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And we stuck our head in the sands and did nothing about it because, and then several months later, Brett's car broke down.
Yep.
And it just consistently missed whenever you drove it.
Yeah.
And then when Brett's car broke down, it was going to cost like, what, $1,500, $2,000 to fix it. And it was right around Thanksgiving time and almost Christmas and whatever. And so we were going to have to wait to fix that and just drive the RAV. And so when I was driving, when Brett called me and told me that, and I stopped for a moment and I thought about it. And I said, well, God, I said, I'm just going to ask Big and I'm going to ask you to fix the RAV because we don't know exactly what's wrong with it. And Brett's car is so broke down that, you can't even drive it now. So, and so every time I took it out after that, for several weeks at least, I listened and listened and listened, and it kept missing and kept missing and kept missing. And then when my son came home for Christmas break, I had to drive down to the D.C. airport at rush hour traffic, 5:30 p.m. And it literally took me 2 hours to get there and 2 hours to get back in traffic. And it was only an hour away. And when I got home, I crashed into the living room chair and I just sat there unwinding, and it crossed my mind that, you know what, you drove all that way and it didn't miss once. I was like, wait 1 second, there's no way you can know that because you weren't even paying attention to that. So I listened for a couple more weeks and it didn't miss. Didn't miss at all when I took it out. I asked Brett, he's like, no, it isn't missing. I asked my son, and he's like, no, it's not missing. And it didn't miss after that. And we drove it for any number of years after that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so God fixed that car, and like I said, provided tires for that car, and I actually changed the battery on that car all by myself. I took the old one out and put the new one in. Mm-hmm. Anyways, cool. I've rambled on long enough, but it was a great car.
And so we drove that for a while until Colby had her accident and it got totaled, and we had to let that one go. But anyway, all of this just really to get you to the point where we ended up getting this Subaru Outback. And there's a whole story that I will now not tell because of how long that story is involved too. But we were not going to get another Subaru, but we ended up with one.
I ate up some of Brett's time.
That's okay. And this is the one we drove for a while, and we drove all over the country, several times back and forth across the country. It was the one that Aspen really kind of, spent a lot of years in, and eventually drove. I think she was in the back seat, singing out the window, funny little, little child tunes, and all the way up till she was actually driving that car, and there she is, standing by it before it got towed away. But anyway, all of that, we were just starting with a funny little human interest story. The car's gone, and it was kind of a sad moment to see it taken away because a lot of history, wrapped up in that car. Really didn't mean for us to go on that long. But anyway, so yeah, now we have a Honda 23 Passport that we drive around, and we'll see how long that one lasts. And so what we're really talking about today.
What we're really talking about today? Okay, let me see if I can make my wrap that I had for this story fit. So basically, so before they came to get the car, I went out and I had to get the mileage on it because they were going to want to know that. And, when I got in the car and everything, it just, you look at it and you turn the key and everything, and it looks like it runs, it sounds like it runs, but it doesn't really run. And so we knew that it didn't really run because we knew the car, right? We knew it
Yeah.
inside, knew it outside. Someone just taking a look at it, sitting there in the driveway or something, it would appear to run because didn't look like there was anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
And so, in our relationship with God, uh, He knows us better than we know ourselves. He knows us inside and outside, and He knows what we need even more than we would know, or we would know what we need.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Brett is going to lead us into the story of the disciples and the.
Oh.
Yeah.
In case you're curious, we didn't sell the car. We donated it to NPR because I listen to NPR, and that's a great cause. And since they get their funding cut, we thought, hey, let's give to a good cause. We gave to the local NPR station. And I just had this theory that Jesus would listen to NPR, but that's just me. And so, yes, speaking of Jesus, you're talking about the Last Supper?
Yeah.
So we were picking up at the Last Supper where, the disciples were all in the room, the story, and they were all in the room, and they're all arguing about who's going to be the most important in heaven, and they were too caught up in their own self-worth and self-importance that, at the time when they had this, Passover feast and stuff, you rented a room, you went through something that came with the room, if you didn't know this. If you rented a room, something that came with it was a servant who would come in and wash everybody's feet, That was just part of the service, like, a hotel service, I guess. It came with it. And it was odd that there was no servant. And so they were all waiting around for this thing to happen. And it obviously wasn't. Somehow, they'd forgotten the servant or something had happened and there was no servant to wash their feet. And then none of them were going to do it. And so arguing their importance, then Jesus, gets up and he grabs the, basin and the towels and stuff. And he starts washing all the disciples' feet. And of course, it stuns them into silence. And now they're all ashamed and embarrassed. And, he goes around the table and, Peter tries to stop him. And then he says, no, unless I do this, and then Peter says, oh, then wash me whole. And he says, no, that's all you need right now. And, the whole rest of the story. But that's basically the story.
Okay. Well, Brett took that a little further than intended, but that's all right. So I'm going to back up just a little bit. So as Brett already said, none of the disciples could get up and wash their fellow disciples, their fellow teammates, basically. They couldn't get up and wash their feet because pride was stopping them from doing that. And yet Jesus, he didn't address that with words. He simply stood up and started to wash the disciples' feet himself. It was one of those moments where Jesus gave the disciples what they didn't know that they needed. And we've mentioned before in James chapter 1, talks about looking into a mirror and seeing what we look like, and the mirror is compared to looking at the law. And the law of God, of course, is the character of God. So there's Jesus, and he stands up, and he is living out the love of God, who God is. And which, of course, is the most important commandment that there is. And the Bible doesn't say, but I'm guessing when Jesus stood up, pride had to blink first, and pride had to sit down, because humility had now taken captive those thoughts that they were thinking. And Jesus knows us better than we know ourselves. When the disciples were sitting there waiting for someone to get up and do the washing of the feet, they probably didn't recognize that they needed to change their attitude. That's just how you live, being better than other people. But Jesus knew what they needed, and he was doing for them what they could not do for themselves.
Yep.
And that's it. And for those who may have watched last week, it was just kind of a redo. We didn't leave it up. So, because sometimes I'm not the best speaker, and so when we were done, I decided no.
Took that one down. We did another one, and we thought we'd save it for today.
Yeah, so we're just doing it today
Yeah. And if you noticed earlier, there was these loud beeps coming through. That was Aspen and her friend coming home. And it was quite humorous. You didn't see them crawl through the set trying not to be on camera. But yeah, now they're back.
Yes, now they're back.
So anyway.
Oh, wait.
What?
That means they're going to fix dinner. Good thing I didn't fix you dinner.
Oh, that's right. Hadassah will have dinner with us tonight. So they'll be making dinner.
Yay, I don't have to fix dinner tonight.
Yes, we didn't have to fix lunch or dinner. We went to a potluck. And then, Miranda made cheesecake that I think mostly got 8.
Yes, it was almost all gone. Very happy moment.
Yes, raspberry peach cheesecake, which was really good. Anyway, as we ramble on about our uninteresting lives,
Yes.
thank you for joining
Yes,
us.
please go do something interesting for the evening
That's
now.
right. Hope